Okay, great. So hello everybody. My own name is Kate. I know I've talked to a couple of you guys before, and I will be kind of doing the recruitment, I suppose, for our upcoming position in South Korea. And we're very lucky today to be joined by two of our interns there, Shannon and Eddie, who are actually in South Korea. And they will be giving their kind of story and their background on the whole program. And we will have lots and lots of time for questions at the end. It'll be about 30 or 40 minutes. And then we'll leave a little bit of time at the end for questions. But this is an interactive webinar, so please feel free. If you have kind of any questions that pop to mind or anything like that throughout the webinar, feel free to put them into the chat box and we'll do our very best to answer them all as best as we can. And I think everybody's good here, but if you're not speaking, it will be great just to have your microphone on mute, just in case there's no interference. And if you want to ask a question or anything like that, please feel free as well to unmute yourself and completely interrupt me. I don't mind at all, and ask any questions that you have. Okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and kind of start. And I assume everybody here on the webinar today is interested in the South Korea position coming up. So basically, we do have 10 positions available for our next start date, and we need to fill 10 positions. Well, our partners in South Korea want 12 teachers, so we want to get them full. It's a 12-month placement, guys, and it starts in February, okay? The application process, which Shannon and Eddie will be going through a little bit themselves as well, but it takes a little bit of time. So that's why we're recruiting now. And for this particular position in the spring, our applications, or the deadline for, applications will be the end of October. So it's actually on Thursday. Thursday is the 30th. So this is why we're running this info session now. And anybody who is really interested will kind of get your applications through in the next 3 days. So it is, I suppose, to go tell you a little bit about what's included in this 12-month kind of internship program firstly. So it is a 12-month position starting in February. We'll be looking at teaching. It's a nationwide program. Okay, so we've schools all over. You do have a preference, a location preference, but you do normally put kind of 3 or 4 down, and our partners will do their very best to get you to your preferred location. Of course, that depends on your own qualifications, your own experience, your own profile, and it also includes on what type of class you're going to teach. Okay. The million-dollar question, I suppose, that everybody asks for is what's the salary of this position and everything like that. So the salary ranges from €1,500 to €1,800 a month, and that is dependent on your own qualifications and your own experience. Okay, you do get full Tefl training as well in this program. So if you're somebody here, I don't know who's Tefl qualified and who's not, but if you're not Tefl qualified, then there is full training provided. And it's just kind of, you need to have your 120-hour Tefl course completed before you head off in February. We do advise that people get it done that a little bit sooner so you can start preparing yourself. There is also a 30-hour teaching young learners course included in this program, which will actually help you kind of cater more to the niche in South Korea, because it will be young learners. So that will help you a little bit more. And again, that's included in the program. There is partial flight reimbursement depending on the price of the flight included. And that comes to you in your first paycheck, or it's reimbursed to you, apologies, in your first paycheck. And we kind of think about it as a little bit of a treat or a little bit of a bonus, maybe to go on a little trip at that time. Another big thing that we love about this program, or that I love about this program, is that the accommodation is completely included for the 12-month. So you have your own studio apartment completely to yourself. And Shannon and Eddie will go through the type of apartment that they're living in to go in a little bit more. I don't know who here is friends or couples or traveling together, but again, every teacher, unless you're married, every teacher will have a studio apartment to themselves. So for example, if you are a group of 3 friends going together, then you will have 3 single apartments all to yourself, which is amazing. It's amazing that you get that. We do as well have medical insurance included in the program. So the school pays for 50% and the other 50% comes from direct from your salary. As well as that included, guys, there is an end of contract bonus, which is normally equivalent to about a month's salary. Okay, and you get that at the end of your kind of 12-month position. And we always use this. Well, it's up to yourselves, of course, if you're saving or have different goals, but it's a lovely little bonus at the end where you might want to do a little bit of a holiday before you come home, or if you're saving, it's another way to do it as well. Kind of going towards your goal or whatever that might be. Included in this program as well, guys, is the certificate of completion, and this is just a lovely little official certificate that you can have when you're applying to maybe later jobs or employment in the future. It's a lovely little add-on to your CV, a lovely little add-on to your cover letter, just to say that you've completed this program and that you've worked 12 months full in a language school in South Korea. It's a lovely little bonus, especially like it acts as a reference letter, but it's a lovely little thing to have. And saves you kind of going back to ask schools for references, as you can imagine, when applying in the future. Another thing, guys, about, I suppose, going through an internship like this and not, say, a job straight away. So if you are a first-time teacher in Tefl, there was a lot of CPD in this internship, which is continual professional development. And there's things like weekend courses, continual professional development throughout your time in South Korea, as well as a 1-week orientation upon arrival. Now, again, one thing we do ask people at this time is just to kind of have a little bit of an open mind, because as you can imagine, things like orientations, things like this might differ or depend on the time you're going over. You know, we always say to people that right now, you know, there's a certain amount of quarantine period, for example, but let's just say that where you're going in February and March, we don't know, and I'm sure we all know, we can't tell what's going to happen in the next few months, depending on lockdowns and quarantines. And I even hate using those words, but it's just something to be aware of and to keep your mind very, very open with it all. And one thing we do want to kind of say to all our potential teachers is that you guys will never kind of lose out on a position. Okay, if for some, and my fingers are crossed and I'm touching wood, if for some crazy reason there was, you know, another worldwide lockdown or whatever you want to say, you would always be deferred onto the next position when it would open up straight away. So you're never going to lose anything in this program. And our partners work very, very, very closely with everybody to make sure that everybody gets their position. Okay, and you will get it. So that's just something to bear in mind, to kind of keep open about the time of arrival, quarantine periods, and an orientation might be done online instead of in course. Okay, just depending on COVID regulations at the time. Okay. So I can see a question that went in. Is this similar to EPIC? So my colleague has answered that here. It is similar to EPIC, but EPIC just work with public schools. We have both public and private schools, meaning that there are more start dates and kind of more availability when applying. For example, if you had, there's a little bit more flexibility with the start date, I would say, with the private schools, which is great. Okay. And as well, guys, depending on COVID, we do normally, typically with this program, you would have airport pickup, but that does depend on the regulations at the time. Okay. The one thing again that we recommend for going with an internship and not a job is the ongoing in-country support you get. Okay. If you go with a direct or an independent job, you will not have the support that you have with this program, meaning you always have someone at the end of the line. Okay. You have coordinators, you have people setting you up pre-departure. You have us here at the Tefl Institute of Ireland kind of with you every step of the way before you go. And then you have somebody when you arrive. It's always nice to have somebody, especially if you're going somewhere that's completely different to your own culture, to have somebody on hand or somebody to call if you're not sure about something. It's a lovely little support to have, and something that we do really recommend when going away for the first time, or if you're traveling solo, it's a lovely little thing to have as well. And as well as that of ongoing in-country support, you'd also get future placement support. So there is a massive opportunity for you guys to continue your time in South Korea with pay rises, or we also have different kind of locations that our partners work with. So if you said to us, right, I've had a lovely 1 or 2 years now in South Korea, but I might, chance somewhere different, that's completely available to you guys. Again, completely fully supported. And it's not like you'd have to pay for the program again. For example, you pay your first time fee and then you're in the system. So basically you can stay there for 7 years, and you'd have accommodation for 7 years included. So if you're thinking of something long-term, it's amazing. It's an amazing way to go. Okay, guys, I suppose one thing that's really important before I kind of move on is there are certain requirements to be met for this program, and it's something that we do have to look at, and just make sure that I'm going to run through I'm sure most of you have run through the eligibility, but I want to go through it here just to make sure that everybody here is eligible, and before we kind of move on. Okay, so for this program, you do need to have a bachelor's degree, okay? And it's kind of non-negotiable. It does need to be a bachelor's degree for this program, and that's just down to the visa, okay? It's a visa requirement, and there's kind of no going about it. A Tefl certificate, absolutely 100% we need that, but as I said, that is included in this program and is completed before you go. You do need to have a criminal background check, so obviously a clean criminal record is essential. For sure. Another one is you do need to have a passport from either UK, Ireland, USA, Canada, Australia, or New Zealand. So they're the countries that you do need to have a passport from, and you do need to have a C2 level of English. Okay, so if you are somebody maybe who's has a passport from one of these countries, but maybe from a different country of origin, that's no problem, but you need to have a C2 level of English. You need to be available, guys, as well for 1 year minimum. This is a 12-month position, and we do like all our teachers to be committed for the 12 months. So that's another thing. And one thing that I was actually just speaking with Shannon and Eddie before is we do kind of require, or like our teachers to be quite, I suppose, open-minded, because this is a new culture. Okay, this is a new kind of journey, and it's not, the big step. If you've never traveled to Asia before, it's different. It's different. It's amazingly different. But I know myself, I'm one of those people who I love to travel. It's in my bones to travel, so that excites me, that type of travel. But just so you know, guys, we want open-minded, strong mindset, who are kind of open to change and to be able to adapt to new situations, really. That's one thing that we would like for when you're applying. So if you fit any of those, all of those requirements, and that's absolutely perfect, guys. And we do have a very, very good success rate for this program. Essentially, if you fit all these requirements or these criteria, there should be no reason for you guys to not be accepted. Something along the lines maybe of, if there was something on your criminal record, or your bachelor's degree wasn't legitimate, or something along, or you did your interview in your pajamas or something like that, then there are reasons for not going through. But if you fit that criteria and you're enthusiastic about the position, guys, we have a fantastic success rate, so there'll be no reason for you not to get accepted. One thing as well I want to run through with you guys is what you kind of need to organize yourselves before traveling. So I've been through what's included, what's required, and we're now just going to run through what you guys need to kind of organize before you travel. So something that we do want to let you know is that you do need to have your bachelor's degree legalized. The visa needs to be processed before you go, and you will work with ourselves and with our partners in getting that organized, but it does take about 3 to 4 months to process because of kind of COVID, and just, everything's a little bit more delayed. Hopefully that kind of has sped up in the last couple of months. But that's why we only have until the end of September for this coming start date. Flights is something that you organize with our partners as well. There is reimbursement, but the initial fee will be on you guys in terms of you're thinking financially to budget for it. In terms of organizing a budget before you go, we always kind of say to our teachers is kind of be prepared until your first paycheck, right? So you're not going to be paid when you arrive until your first paycheck. So just to kind of think in your head to have enough money for the first month. And I always say, have a little bit more so you can really enjoy your time for the first month and explore South Korea for what it is, for sure. But after that, you will not need to have any savings because it is quite, for the cost of living in South Korea, it's a very good salary. And teachers normally, just for yourselves, can save up to 30% of their wages. So it's a lovely little thing to kind of have in the back of your head and to know. Another thing that you need to have organized before you go is a police check or a Garda vetting in Ireland. That's one more thing we need to organize. And vaccines. Okay, that again is discussed closer to the time. I suppose the COVID vaccines is a little bit more different, and I'll go through that now in a second. Again, it's always changing, guys, up and down. So just again, to be open-minded with the whole COVID situation. Okay, I'm just going to check here. Okay, before I move on, I'm just going to check the chat box here before I have anything on these. Does your TEFL certificate need to be legalized? Becky, I'm going to ask you that question to see if you know that, because I actually don't know that question. Okay, I can get back to her in a minute. She'll write that in a second. That's fine.
If it's any help in our case, we didn't.
Yeah. Okay, you didn't. Great.
Not the TEFL.
Not the TEFL.
Everything else,
degree,
though.
yes, but not the TEFL.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's great, guys. Thanks, Emil. Okay. So the answer is no to that question, Brianna. Okay, has this, and another one here, Alice, has this program been running for a while, and how many more years is it expected to run? Alice, it's been running for a lot of years, and it's expected to run for a lot more years. It's a very established program, and our partners are very established and are huge in South Korea, so I wouldn't, they're massively reputable, so absolutely. Okay, guys, in terms of, I'm going to run a little bit through about what COVID, I suppose, COVID related things here. So depending again, guys, a COVID fit to fly certificate kind of thing is needed before you go. And again, vaccine, things like that need to be sussed closer to the time. Okay, and in terms of what you need, you do need travel insurance covering COVID-19 as well. That's another thing that you need to organize. And there is quarantine, but because, actually, do you know what? I'll leave Shannon, Eddie go through that a little bit more in detail for you there, but just to run through quickly, is for private schools, quarantine can be done in your accommodation, so in your own place. So it doesn't mean you have to go to a hotel or anything like that, but if you are in a public schools, the rules can be a little bit more different, okay? So what I'm going to do now as well, just a little bit, guys, something that might not be on the website is that we do expect people's passports to be in date until the program ends, which is a little bit of a funny stipulation, but so to be kind of your passport needs to be in date for the time that you're there in South Korea. Okay, we can supply an employer's letter for an emergency passport, or right now, actually, the passports office is running quite well in Ireland. So if you're somebody who's maybe just about to expire, that could be done before you fly out. Okay, and another thing as well, criminal checks must be from 18 years old and on. And if you've lived abroad, and if the immigration office is aware of this, you will need to kind of provide a criminal check for whatever country you were in. So let's say you were in Australia from 19 to 21, you'd need to provide a criminal check from that country too, if immigration is aware of that country. Okay, and that is fantastic. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to pass you on to Shannon and Eddie, and then I'm also going to go through a little bit more after, but they're kind of going to just run through their own little story about getting there and their own little journey as well. And if you have any questions for the lads, then just put them into the chat box and we can get to them afterwards. So guys, if you want to go ahead and kind of let us know your own bit.
Sure. So
Hi, everyone.
hello everyone. My name's Shannon.
I'm Eddie.
And as Kate mentioned, we are currently in South Korea. We got here this day a month ago.
Yeah.
Just about one day and a month ago. We've been working now in our jobs 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And we love it. It's so great. And we actually started the whole process on the exact webinar that you're on now last April. We jumped on randomly one day. We were not thinking of going to South Korea. We just wanted to have a look. And everything Kate mentioned, it was too good not to go. So we immediately said, let's move to South Korea. And we started the process. And we love it. We haven't once thought about doing anything else. So
we are in a private school, or a hagwon as they call it, here in Korea. So I guess there's slight differences in terms of working hours, things like that. But we've had an amazing experience so far. And
the reason we chose to go private, because you can choose between private and public, and they have pros and cons to each. So our biggest thing, because we are married, so we needed to be together. We didn't care where we were. We didn't care if we were in the same school, but we had to live together, because otherwise, what's the point? And the public school system, you get no say in where you are. They don't tell you until you arrive in Korea where you're going. So obviously for us, they couldn't guarantee we'd be together. So that was off the table. We decided to go private school, and it's actually turned out really, really well for us.
Yeah.
So that meant we got to quarantine in our apartment rather than in a government facility, which means quarantine is free, which is fantastic, instead of the government facility. Our apartment is really, really nice. We have a 1-bedroom apartment for the two of us, right in the downtown of the city that we live in, walking distance to everything we could want. Our school is a 10-minute walk.
Just really, really good experience. And as Kate mentioned about in-country support, like we've definitely got that from the partners over here in South Korea. Like they've set up like meetups and quiz nights, things like that on Zoom once every couple of weeks, and just kind of check-in sessions to make sure everyone's doing okay. And like they're always at the other end of an email if you are struggling for any reason. So far we haven't been, to be honest. Like our school has been amazing as well. Like anything we've needed help with, they've been there. Kate mentioned preferences as to where you'd like to be placed in South Korea. Again, they are very, very flexible in helping set that up. Like we originally said that we wanted to be in Seoul. We're technically on the outskirts of Seoul, like a short subway ride, and we're in Seoul city center. So we're actually in a city called Bucheon, which is between Incheon and Seoul itself. But to be honest, you can't really tell the difference, because the cities here just blend one into another. It's not like in Ireland where you've got town, country, town. They all just blend into each other here.
Yeah. I guess our biggest piece of advice, we went on the webinar, and the registration was closing 5 days later. So we immediately emailed Kate with our information, and we got the process started straight away.
I think you guys were my first call. Was that right? I think you were my first call the next morning.
Yes, we were. We emailed straight away because we knew it was very competitive. It takes a long time to get all of the paperwork. There's a million different steps. None of them are too hard, but there are a million different steps that you have to do. And some of them take a really long time. So for ourselves, I'm American, but had been living in Ireland for 4 years. But that meant because my nationality is American, I had double the steps because I needed Irish certification as well as American for things.
So whereas I had only had to get a Garda cert, so you go down to your local Garda station, you ask them for a police certificate, they will give you a form to fill out. I think there was a fee, a slight fee. It was like €10,
something nothing too big.
And you return a list of all of your previous addresses to the sergeant of the district. So the guards whatever station you're going to will talk you through that process. Shannon had it slightly harder being American, so she had to go through the FBI as well as Ireland. But if you're not from the US or if you're not from two countries, you only have one of those steps to do, so it's not too bad.
But beware, they told us when we went to get our background check it would take a month to come back. We got very lucky, we got it back in 2 days, but it could take a month. And my FBI background check took 2.5 months to come back.
They were worried about you, Shannon.
If you're in that position, we would strongly recommend going through.
If anyone's in that position,
if you're not, you don't need to
email
worry.
me and I'll help you through it. Go through an expediter. But if you're just in Ireland and you're going through the Irish Guards, you'll be fine. But do plan for it to take a month because it could. Same with we had to get our degrees notarized and then apostilled. And that is also a big process, which can take a while as well. We sent it off to the apostille office in Dublin and it took 2 months.
Yeah, about that.
About 2 months, even though normally you can walk in and do it same day, but because of COVID, everything's closed. We had to send a few emails politely asking them to move it along. So just plan for things to take a really long time and get started as soon as you can.
As Shannon said there just a second ago, don't be afraid to email these agencies that are dealing with your paperwork, just explaining your situation and asking them nicely to expedite.
Nicely. They'll help you.
They did actually for us on numerous occasions. To give an example, Kate mentioned you need your degree. So if you're like me and your bachelor's degree was in Latin, which a lot of people, I don't really understand why they give them in Latin when you need them for things like this, but you do need to get it translated. So if you were like me and you were at I went to Maynooth, so NUI would have been my university governing body, I guess. You need to send your NUI form off to get an English translation of your Latin degree. Otherwise, the Korean authorities just won't accept it. So you do need to get your degree translated if it's in Latin.
Before it can be notarized and apostilled.
If it's not in Latin and it's in English, you're totally fine.
And I know it sounds like a lot, but Tefl and the partners that we used were amazing in sending us exactly what to do, the timeline, the process of here's the document you need, here's what you need to do, here's when we need it by. They constantly were checking in to make sure we had anything. And we would send, as soon as we got stuff done, we sent it off and they had it on file. So we didn't have to worry about, trying to keep everything all together. They're amazing at helping you through it because it is a tedious process with a lot of parts. That's not hard, it's just a lot of parts.
But I will say the process of support didn't end when we boarded the flight and landed here. We still get emails, checking in from Kate and their partners over here in South Korea, which I'm sure you talk about if and when people sign up.
I suppose another thing that people might be want a little bit more info on, I suppose, was the quarantine period, just to kind of run through that and how that went for you guys.
First of all, before quarantine, expect that everything is going to happen really last minute. So we were on top of it. We wanted to know, when are we going? When are we getting our jobs? When do they start? You won't find out until just a few weeks before you go. Your visa won't be ready until the week before you fly out. Just embrace it. If you have any trips, like I needed to go home to America before we went to Korea. So we went in June because we were leaving for Korea in August. And there was going to be a period, you have to send your passport away to get your visa. So if you're trying to do any traveling like that, you won't be able to. You don't know when it's going to come back. So just expect it to be kind of last minute and prepare yourself as much as possible for that so that it's not hectic.
That the visa process it seems to be a little more streamlined than when we applied for this. The situation was kind of different in March and April when we applied. So there was a point where the Korean embassy in Dublin were not processing visas, but by the time it came around for us to send off our visas, they were. So you could just walk up to the office in Dublin and they processed it. It did take
couple of weeks,
like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So just be prepared for that. So, but they're very helpful, and they're on the other end of the phone. But then I guess going back to quarantine, the officials in the airport will, once you land in South Korea, so I believe the only place you can land in South Korea internationally is Incheon, so that's in Seoul. They will guide you through the process. Even if you've no Korean whatsoever, there are people there who will speak English. They will recognize
every
that
step of the way.
you're not from Korea, and they will help you. They'll tell you what queue to go to. They'll ask you, what you're doing there, etc. You just explain, I'm here to teach English. I'm on an E2 visa, and they'll direct you the rest of the way. People in South Korea are very, very friendly. It doesn't hurt to learn very, very basic words in Korean, like hello, thank you, goodbye.
The more Korean you know, the better you'll be.
You do not have to be fluent in Korean to live here. We are not fluent at all. We, at this stage, we can order food. Yeah. After many weeks. So.
Yeah. And we can say hello and goodbye, and it is helping a lot. Obviously, we're going to learn more while we're here. But with quarantine, once you get to the airport, you will not be outside again for 2 weeks. They take it very, very seriously. It's not like, I don't know if anyone's had to quarantine in Ireland, where you could still technically go for a walk or go to the store if you had to.
Yeah,
it's
very strict here.
You are not allowed to step out of your front door. So you leave the airport in a designated taxi, or depending on where you're going around the country, a designated bus, designated train, specifically for quarantine. And once you arrive in your apartment, you're kind of sealed in, for lack of a better word.
If you are not tested, if you're in hotel quarantine, there's a testing facility for you. But if you're like us, where you're in a hagwon on your own apartment, you'll be basically ferried straight to your house. You will be expected to stay in your house, and then you will be called upon to go for a test, essentially. But your school and the partners here in South Korea will organize.
They organize it for you. Just tell you.
Don't need to worry about any of that.
There's a taxi at your door at 10 a.m. Just get in the taxi, go do your test. Here's what you need to bring, and then you come back and you're in your apartment for 2 weeks. Our advice for quarantine is bring stuff to do. And jet lag is very hard to get over in quarantine, actually. You would think, all I can do is sleep. But that's kind of the problem, is that all you can do is sleep and watch TV. And there's nothing to regulate your circadian rhythm, because normally if you're traveling, you just go out and explore. And that's how you get over jet lag. But when you can't do that, it took us probably 10 days to get over the jet lag. So just expect it. Don't fight it. Just let it happen. And you'll be much better off for it.
Your school or the partners over here in South Korea will help you out as well with things like food delivery, grocery delivery. If you're not in a hotel, if you're in a hotel,
they bring you your food.
Got your 3 square meals a day. You're totally fine there. But if you're
you can also, if you're in a hotel, if you go public, they have 4 different types of menus: Korean, Western, halal, and vegetarian. So you can pick kind of what style you want. If you're at a private quarantine like we are, we just ordered food through our school. So we would sometimes get pizza, sometimes just get groceries. We could kind of order whatever we wanted. But food delivery, you cannot do food delivery on your own in Korea. You need a Korean card, like a credit card or debit card, to order online. You can order out in person, but not online.
So easily go through your school or the Korean part. The
partners will help you through all of that. They organized that before we got here. They sent us kind of a request sheet, and we filled out everything we wanted in the apartment for when we arrived, and then they helped us with ordering things throughout the quarantine period.
So you're taken care of. They're not going to seal you into your apartment and just leave you there. You would be.
You do have as well there's a quarantine app that everyone has to download, and that you do your temperature 3 times a day at certain times, and that is very, very, very strict. You have to do it.
Basically
it's easy. But
if you don't do it, expect a phone call from a South Korean health official who will start speaking to you in Korean until you tell them that you don't speak Korean, and then someone will ring you back and speak English to you, but they'll explain to you in English, you must stay in your apartment, you must take your temperature 3 times a day. If you leave the apartment for any reason, or you don't move your phone for any period of time. So if you think that you can leave your phone in the apartment and walk out, it has motion sensor. So if it detects that the phone has not been moved for 2 hours, something like that, it will contact the health officials and someone will come to your door to check that you're still there.
We had that happen, actually. We fell asleep during the day because of jet lag and my phone was charging, and because it was in the like waking hours and it hadn't moved, someone came to our door to make sure we were still here. So it is. So
they take
it very
seriously over here. But so just to be aware of that.
The good thing is, though, life outside of quarantine
is very normal.
Other than you have to wear a mask, we're going out to restaurants, we're going to tourist attractions, riding the subway. Everything is pretty much open. You just have to wear a mask. So
that's really the only difference is normal life apart from you wear a mask. And again, it's not like at home where some people tend to ignore it or flout it or just not bother.
Just everyone does it.
Everyone does it.
It's just part of life.
Socially unacceptable not to do it here. Someone will say it to you if you don't wear a mask. Just to bear that in mind, I guess. But other than that, we love the experience here. We're really happy here.
We're loving it. Yeah.
And guys, just a little, I suppose, one more thing, maybe a little bit about the teaching experience. Maybe what a typical working day might look like for you.
Sure. So first of all, Eddie and I have very different backgrounds. So I was working in marketing for the travel industry, but obviously when COVID happened, I just wanted to upskill and try something else. So that's why I decided to do a TEFL. But Eddie has 6 years teaching experience.
So I was a primary school teacher for the past 6 years. And basically after, I guess, 2 years of teaching online and in and out of school with COVID and everything else, I decided I think it was time for a change.
So I say that because I have no teaching experience and Eddie does, and we're at the same school, basically doing the same job. So whether you have the teaching experience will help you significantly, but it's not a block. If you have,
it's not essential. It's not a block. You can like easily,
as long as you like children and you enjoy working with children, you'll be fine. So our day is a bit longer than it would be in Ireland. We work from 9 to 6:40. So we start teaching from 9 to 9:30 is a prep period. Then we teach from 9:30 to 12. Then we have lunch. Then we teach from 12:40 to 2:10. And that whole time in the morning, we're teaching elementary school. So I teach kindergarten. Eddie teaches 6th grade.
No, like
second.
6-year-olds, I guess, here.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
And then we switch in the afternoon to elementary. So the little ones go home. Elementary school kids come to us after they already do their full day at school. So they do their normal school and then they come to our private academy for more school. And then we teach we have a prep period from 2:10 to 3, and then we teach from 3 to 6:40.
Just to bear in mind that that's our experience. Not everyone who's going on this program is teaching at those hours. Now, again, we're very fortunate. The school we're in, they're really, really supportive and helpful, and we really like where we are. I mean, having come from a teaching background where you're doing your own lesson planning, meeting parents, you don't do that here at all.
Well, it depends. Lesson planning,
our
school, we don't lesson plan. So we work slightly longer hours, but the lessons are already planned for us. We're literally just given, today you're teaching pages 50 to 54. Here you go. Here's the homework you assign.
Amazing.
Whereas if you go in public school or other private schools, you will be lesson planning. So you might not be in the classroom as long as we are, but you'll be spending time making your lesson plans, making your homework, grading everything. So it's just different. Neither one is better or worse. They're just different.
I don't know if any of the people on the webinar come from a teaching background, but as a primary school teacher for the past few years, it is a lot easier than teaching primary school. So just to bear that in mind as well. Like, I mean, it's very, very different.
But it is still a job.
It is still a job.
It is a job.
Yes. So you wouldn't be,
when we were first looking at the company that we interviewed with, obviously you look online and you see immediately first thing is negative reviews. Do not work at a Hagwon. Do not work private school. Bad.
We would take all of that with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, we freaked out at first.
Genuinely take all of that with a pinch of salt. It it is not the full story.
No.
I mean,
a lot of people come over thinking this is just a year to travel and, oh, I have to work sometimes. You are here to teach. You are here to, teach these children English. It is a job, but
you do get to
to travel,
yes.
and it's an incredible daily life, but it is a job.
We've been traveling in and out of Seoul every weekend. We've just had the Chuseok holiday, which is Korean Thanksgiving, and they had 3 days off. There's no school at all. We have a long weekend coming up this weekend because it is Hangul Day, I think. So you do have opportunities to go travel, for sure, absolutely.
You'll see a lot of reviews online about, people didn't like it because they didn't have time to work on their YouTube career and things like that. So, really.
Yeah,
so
100% definitely take all of those reviews with a pinch of salt. Don't be scared away by negative reviews. In our experience anyway, they haven't come to pass. And we've been here long enough now to know if it was going to go that way or not. It's not that way at all.
Yeah. And really, like, the partners that they work with are not going to put you somewhere bad. Like, they want you to succeed. Tefl wants everyone to succeed. They're going to put you in a good place, and it's up to you to just make sure that you are also, making them proud by being there. So
yeah, that's basically
great, guys. That's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing. I love your actual goals for teaching in South Korea, and as well, Shan and Eddie are very kind to give us their Instagram handles. If you actually want to pop that into the chat box, if you can, Shan and Eddie, your Instagram handles. So if anybody wants to connect with them, like, for example, if they're, or even follow their journey, I'm not sure.
We post their travel pictures.
Yeah, I don't know how active you are or and things like that, but do you know, if you do want to kind of connect with them when you arrive and things like that, it's always lovely to know somebody who's over there, which is amazing. And I'm just going to run through a few more things here again. Yes, so I suppose everything I've heard from Shan and Eddie there is amazing, but I suppose I kind of wanted to run through a few things that if people call me and they say, look, I want to teach abroad, I do naturally kind of steer people to this internship and the one in Thailand, because they're my two loves. I love those ones, Thailand and South Korea, but it is for good reason. The reason I love this one, and it really is a point for me, is that it's a support, number one, and it's the career progression. If you really go with a mindset of you want to kind of spend the next couple of years abroad really improving your career, this program will give you the chance to do that. So I love that as well. And I suppose obviously a benefit is the accommodation is included, but more importantly for me, it's organized, because I just hate organizing, trying to find accommodation, landlord references, all those type of things that you have to do when you're trying to rent here in Ireland, which is a chaotic situation at the moment. It's just lovely to have it all kind of organized and just done for you. And on top of that, it's actually a lovely apartment, and I suppose, Shan, I don't know, but if you compare it to like an apartment here in Ireland and the amount you're paying, like it's probably no comparison. How I assume it's very modern.
We could never afford to live in this apartment in Dublin.
Yeah,
honestly, and as close to everything as we are, like, just on our street alone is probably 200 restaurants, bowling alleys, movie theaters, department, like anything you could want.
That's not an exaggeration. That's literally, we're looking out at it right now, out our window. There's a department store out our window here that's, I'd say, twice the size of Dundrum Shopping Centre. The Subway is like, Subway is 2 minutes walk from our house here, so you're in Seoul in 45 minutes.
And we have a memory foam mattress, like, it's big fridge, beautiful apartment. So, and they organize everything for you.
Yeah. I'm looking at Emma and I'm like, Emma, will we just
I know,
unfortunately hand in our resignation and maybe head to South Korea?
Maybe go.
Yeah. I see a question in here. Did we get to choose our location? So we did. We had a meeting with the partners. So once we were accepted by Tefl and they passed us on to their partners, they basically do like an introductory meeting with you to find out what you're looking for, what kind of age group you want to teach, where you want to be, what's the most important thing.
That was a good one then as well, about someone asking about just elementary school. So that's what they'll help you find a fit that's right for you, I guess.
So we knew we didn't want to be teaching adults because those are nights and weekend hours, and we wanted our nights and weekends free. So for us, that meant we'd be teaching elementary and kindergarten, which we are super happy with. Our most important thing was our being together, then the location, then the age group.
Yeah, it would
so they kind of help you to figure out what your preferences are, and then kind of lead you through there. So we thought for sure we wanted to go public school all the way until they let us know that we probably wouldn't be together. And we had to switch our everything we thought we knew was going to happen was switched. And that happened a lot as well. You think you know what you're going to do, and then, oh no, it's different. Okay. And you just have to go with it and just be open-minded and flexible.
You need to be open-minded. They do take your preferences into consideration. Like we said, number one, we were very open, of course, but we said, number one, we'd love to be in Seoul, and we basically are in Seoul. If you're teaching through the public school system, so EPIC, it's a bit more, I guess, hit and miss where you'd be put.
Yeah, but you have no say if you're in a city or if you're in a rural village or if you are up north or down south. Like you don't really get a say at all in where you're going.
They can,
so you have
they
to
can
be very
fix up with a preference, but because it's the public school system, it's kind of like teaching in Ireland. Wherever there's a job available, that's where the jobs will pop up, I guess. But private school is a lot more flexible. Even
there's so many private schools that anywhere you want it to be. Busan is a bit harder. There are specific requirements for Busan, so you need to have already been teaching in Korea. It's very hard to get a first time teaching job in Busan, which is down in the south. But Seoul or Daegu or Incheon, anywhere else you want to go,
Incheon, where we are,
no problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Hope that helps.
I hope that helps.
Yeah, amazing, guys. So I suppose the next thing, before we kind of go on to our last bit of our Q&A, I'm just going to run through, I suppose, what your next steps are. So if somebody here is interested in this position starting in February, myself and the girls on the team will be doing our recruitment calls this afternoon through to tomorrow. We only actually have 10 positions, unfortunately, for this February start date, and they need to be in before October, apologies. So by Thursday, we need to have whoever's on board kind of locked in before Thursday. So it is only a couple of days, but we do need to have it decided by then. If you are kind of happy with the position and you want to go ahead, please just make sure you fit the requirements, because there's no point going through the whole thing and then your paperwork comes back or something like that. So just ensure that, you know, you do meet the criteria, and that's perfect. So the price of this internship and everything together is 1,090. If you are Tefl trained, there is a little bit of a discount. Like obviously, if you already have your training with us, there will be a discount on that. So please just let us know of your status with the Tefl training, or how much you've done or what you haven't done, and we'll organize that through our call. But it does work on a first come, first served basis. So if you are interested, please get in touch after this webinar, and just, if you can really quickly just send me a little profile about yourself, like a little short bio, just basically maybe your age, your nationality, where you hold a passport from, a little bit of experience, not that you need teaching experience, but something that you might think is relevant, just a little bit about yourself, and then just put a contact number, and we'll get in touch with you then just to kind of go through the last bit of the pre-screening, and we'll get you kind of enrolled and booked on. I will send everybody as well an email after this, just with a little bit more detail. I think that's it in terms of the process. It will be a little bit quick now, guys. I know it's the 27th, so we'll only be 3 days to get you booked on and things like that. But it's an amazing internship. If it's in the back of your head, I would highly suggest it. Something I've done for years myself. Unfortunately, I never got to South Korea. I've been to many other places, but I never got to South Korea, and it's something I've always really wanted to do, and I will do. But yeah, I just say, like, from a personal point, if it's something that's kind of been in the back of your head and you've been thinking about for a while, bite the bullet. It's a great time to do it, especially with kind of a group of people going. So another thing that I didn't mention, there is also you can go with people from the institute if you're traveling solo. So we'll kind of link you up and let you know who's going, you know, to your location or whatever it might be, so you're not alone while you're there. And something Shannon Eddy said, there is actually 14, did you say 14 people in your school, 14 teachers that were expats kind of?
Yeah, so our school has 12 foreign teachers,
Yeah.
and that are all from mostly the United States.
Mostly United States, yeah.
You're the first Irish person.
Yeah.
But most schools, not all, most schools will have hopefully at least one or two other foreign teachers. And they're like the partners that they use have their own kind of meetup groups and networking. And then the school has that, and then Tefl has that. So there's a bunch of different ways to meet people. There's also Facebook groups. There is a large expat community in South Korea. A lot of people over here teaching English. A lot of people around the same age, interests. So there's definitely ways to meet people if you're alone.
They do have a GAA club here.
They do, and he's joined it.
Good.
And it's very, as well, for girls, if any of the girls are going alone, it's extremely safe here.
Very,
extremely
very
safe. You still need to take precautions, obviously, but like we saw a woman leave her purse behind her on a park bench while she just wandered away for about 20 minutes and came back to it, no problem.
One touched it. Like really,
Wow.
It's actually that now. We don't recommend that, obviously, but
it's extremely safe. Everywhere is very well lit. There's no rowdiness the same way you might get in the Dublin city centre that we all know. So that, don't let that be a hindrance to traveling alone.
I can't believe there's a GA club. That's amazing.
Yeah, Seoul Gales. So they're kind of located.
Great.
So they're not playing at the minute, but I've been in touch with them, and they've linked up. So they don't use WhatsApp over here. So what they use is an app called Kakao Talk. Actually, that's another thing we should actually mention, if that's all right, Kate. So we would strongly recommend people download Papago. So it's an app that translates. So if you
in real time via
yeah.
talking, via texting, or by an image.
Yeah.
So you can screenshot a menu or just take a picture of the menu, and it translates it in real time.
How do you spell it?
Papago. Papago.
Papago.
It's got a little parrot. You can speak into your phone and say, "Excuse me, can you help me?" And it'll translate it in real time out loud. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's been a lifesaver for us here. So there'd be notices like a lot of our documentation for our quarantine and our COVID tests and things like that have been totally in Korean. People do help you and talk you through it, obviously, but if you're kind of getting a letter that's in Korean and you're freaking out, this thing is amazing. It actually translates it in real time totally into English, and it's fairly accurate.
Yeah.
People are amazing. They're here that if you hold up your phone with Papago on, they know what you're doing, and they'll actually speak Korean into the phone, and the phone will give you back the English. Yeah. And they, like, Korean people are used to it. They understand that that's what you're doing, so they'll automatically talk into the phone.
And because Google doesn't really work here the same way. Google hasn't been updated in Korea since 2009. So Google Maps doesn't really work. Google Translate is
kind of. So there's another web app they use here called Naver. So Naver Map, and Naver is the search engine. So just type it in there.
So instead of Google, you would use Naver. Okay. Then instead of Google Maps, Naver Maps.
Yeah.
And then Kakao Talk. All of your communication with your school with anyone, it's like WhatsApp, but it's Kakao Talk. You'll need that.
Yeah, that's it. And yes, the internet connection is extremely fast here. Very, very fast.
Yeah. There's one more question there, guys. I think it's someone just put in, Sarah Jane. I'm looking to go for the August later date. Do I also apply in February? So Sarah, if you still want to give us a buzz afterwards, I'll let you know of that. Because you can actually apply ahead of time. We just won't have an official start date for you. But if you wanted to kind of get booked on and before I suppose the next recruitment session for later on in the year, feel free. Just give us a buzz and we'll let you know about a little bit more about that. Sorry, somebody wrote this perfect. Great, guys. Any last few questions? As we said there, do you know, I will be doing the calls in the afternoon. And thanks so much. And Eddie, you're absolute legends. Really, really good. And thank you so much for kind of giving your social media addresses as well to anybody who might want to follow your journey or just kind of reach out and things like that. It's a great kind of comfort to have, I suppose, definitely. Yeah, but you've definitely made 2 people resign here. Me and Emma will be off to South Korea in February, so we'll be leaving. No, thanks a million, guys, and thanks everybody for joining today. Yes, and we'll be in touch after the webinar. So thank you all. Thanks, everybody.